So, 7 o'clock in the morning, first night on the walk, and oh, it was freezing. It's snowed a lot during the night and woke up quite a lot being cold, but all in all, not a bad sleep. So, I'll show you the view from the hammock. That's Loch Ness. You're on the hill above Loch Ness, looking down. What an amazing place to spend the night and to wake up in the morning. It's about 4:30. It's absolutely freezing up here, but it's fantastic. Absolutely lovely place. Great day today. There's quite a lot of sun. It's been reasonably warm. Now come up quite high above Loch Ness, and yeah, it's pretty cold. So hopefully find somewhere to put the hammock up in maybe 15 minutes. Find some water, find some good trees. Yeah, see you later. So set the hammock up a bit differently tonight. So it's a bit more, I suppose, like a winter hammock setup. So it's a bit more like a tent with the sides lower down to the ground, and I've tried to close the ends off a wee bit and see how that works. So to get into it, connected a little clip across those two bungees, and there we are. It's the hammock in the tent. Morning. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. Had a great night's sleep last night. Feel really good. Just packing away the tarpaulin and the hammock to get a nice early start today. Camped above Loch Oig, and you see the railway line, the old railway line that the track goes along. It's a really nice place to walk, nice and easy, and loads of birds singing. It's an absolutely fantastic morning. So as yesterday was a really wet day, I've got a bit of drying to do from some bits of clothes. So the back of my rucksack has completely turned into a clothes horse. Tried hanging them up last night underneath the tarpaulin, which sometimes works, but unfortunately last night most of the clothing froze. You can see in the middle the solar panel for my battery charger, which gives a little bit more juice for charging my phone. Morning. It's about 6:30 in the morning. That was really cold last night. Forecast said about -5. This is just about 2 miles away from Speen Bridge. Quite near Ben Nevis is over there somewhere. Yeah, forecast said about -5. Thinking it could have been quite a bit colder. So I've just got up, My shoes are frozen solid. My socks that were hanging up above my hammock, they were frozen. Yeah, it's a bit cold. So I thought I'd show you how to try and keep warm when you're hammocking if it's this cold. So there's the tarpaulin. If you look, you can see the ice on the tarpaulin. Let's go inside. Okay, under the hammock, what I've got hanging here is something called an underblanket or an underquilt, which is a bit like a half a sleeping bag, which clips onto the underside of the hammock. Now the reason for that is that in a hammock you lose most of your heat out of the underside. So this hangs on the underside and it keeps you a sort of toasty warm layer underneath. It keeps you warm. Obviously you lie inside with a sleeping bag and wear as many clothes as you can. So I usually go to sleep in thermal long johns, socks, fleece and a down jacket and a hat. And that keeps me warm most of the night. Hi, I'm on my way from Speen Bridge to Roy Bridge on a section of the East Highland Way, and it's been absolutely lovely. I didn't really know what to expect on here. It's just been lovely walking through birch woodland and oak woodland alongside the river. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's going to snow in a minute though. Weather keeps on coming. Morning. Last night was another cold night. It's probably about -6, I think. Just thought I'd mention about, say some people who might watch this who can't understand why you do something like this and what pleasure you get out of it. Everything becomes really small and simple. Like the pleasure of just waiting for the sun to come over the hill at 7:30 in the morning so you can sit in the sun and warm up, which sounds like a really silly thing to say, but it's such a simple, elemental thing to have the heat of the sun warming you after a cold night. Makes you feel really in touch with your surroundings, makes you feel really in touch with what's going on. Beautiful thing. What a beautiful place this is. While I'm sitting here, I thought I might tell you a wee bit about the 2 long distance pathways that I'm walking this time. Great Glen Way, which runs from Fort William to Inverness, or Inverness to Fort William, depending on which way you do it. Very, very straightforward walk. It's very clear pathways, clearly signposted, There's absolutely no way you could get lost while you're on it at all. There's a few bits on the route where you have the option to take a high route or a low route. If you were doing this, I would always recommend that you take the high route, because you suddenly get more views and it's much more like being in the Highlands and being up on hills. I'm not sure how high it actually goes to. I think maybe about 1200, 1500 feet maybe maximum. But the high routes are on the section along Loch Ness, and they're really, really good, really enjoyable. If you do the low route version of that, it's just basically walking through along forestry tracks, and you don't see that much. So Great Glen Way, it is a really nice route. There's parts of it where you just walk alongside a couple of really nice lochs, Loch Oich and Loch Lochy. Yes, good route. It's a nice pathway. I think if you do the whole thing, probably about 5 days, something like that. One of the nice things about the Great Glen Way is obviously it follows the Caledonian Canal, which is a boat route that runs from Fort William to Inverness. And the majority of that is on the 3 lochs. And then the bits between the lochs are canals, and there are lots of lochs, slightly different pronunciation, but lots of lochs along there. So it's really interesting to see. And it's quite weird if you're used to seeing canals in England, for example, you know, like Oxfordshire or Staffordshire or wherever, and you're used to seeing English countryside with locks and canal barges, and then you see the same thing and you look up and there's Highland mountains around. It's quite a cool contrast. It's really nice. I've done the Great Glen Way 3 times. It's the 3rd time I've done it. I really like it as a route. I think it's brilliant for hammock camping if you want to take a hammock, because there's so many trees along the way. It's a good route, and if you're just getting into long distance walking, it's a really, really good beginner route to do. The East Highland Way runs from Fort William to, I think, Aviemore. I think it's supposed to be the end of it. I picked this up at Speen Bridge because I cut across from the Great Glen Way, about a 4-mile walk over to Speen Bridge, and then picked it up, which I think is on the 2nd day of the East Highland Way. So far I've walked for a day and a bit along here. I really like it. It's really, really nice. It's totally different to the Great Glen Way or even the West Highland Way in that it is not signposted at all. It's not waymarked footpaths. You need to look at a map or a guidebook or whatever it is you're using to actually work out where you're going, which is quite nice. I like that. What I've walked through so far is absolutely gorgeous woodland of massive oak trees and birch trees and ash trees, in a really nice glen with great views. It seems really nice. I like it. It's good. sitting in this amazingly beautiful place. It's really, really good. Just reflecting on what I've done over the last 7 or 8 days. It's been a fantastic trip. One of the things that's been really, really good actually is the weather, and it's coming away in the snow and the cold and -6 at night. It's actually really good to be out in those sorts of temperatures and to know that you can do it and that your kit's fine and that things work out. Also, the bonus of having -6 at night is that you get days like this, which is just stunning. It's cold, but it's glorious. Another great thing about being away in this sort of weather for a long walk is that you don't have a choice about whether you set off and go for a walk, because you know, like when you're at home and you look out the window and it's cold and it's sleety and horrible and you kind of go, nah, we'll give it a miss today. If you're out on a long walk, you don't have the choice, and you get to see things in different conditions you wouldn't otherwise see, and that's one of the great things about long distance walking. Someone was asking me a while ago about why I like to hammock camp rather than take a tent if I'm able to do that. And I think one of the reasons why I love hammock camping is that I find it so much more comfortable. And I think once you know how to set up a hammock properly, it's loads better than sleeping in a tent. I never ever get a sore back in a hammock. Quite often I get a sore back when I sleep in a tent. The other great thing about it is that you are really, really outdoors. You have that feeling, you wake up, you go to sleep, you wake up, you look out over the landscape, you're part of the landscape, whereas when you're in a tent, because of the nature of a tent, you create a barrier between yourself and the outdoors. You don't really get that so much in a hammock, and that's a wonderful thing. One of the other great things about a hammock as well is that every time you set it up and you set up your tarpaulin, it's like problem solving. You have to work out where you're going to attach your tarpaulin ropes to and things like that. So it's not as simple as putting a tent up, and it's actually quite a nice challenge. It's a really enjoyable thing to do. Is this a walk I'd do again? Yeah, definitely. As I've said before, I've done the Great Glen Way 3 times now. This is the first time on the East Highland Way, and it's fantastic. It's really, really good. It's very quiet at the moment. I mean, I haven't seen anybody, and yeah, it's a quiet time, but I don't reckon you'd see anybody normally anyway. It's nothing like the West Highland Way. It's a totally different thing of busyness. I was not expecting to have the views of the mountains that you get. I actually thought it wouldn't be like this at all, but it is brilliant. It's really, really good. I'm probably going to finish today, I think, and stop in Newton Moor and get the train home. I think it's about another day or 2 days probably to Aviemore, which I think is the end. I'm not too fussed about walking from Newton Moor to Aviemore. I know that area quite well, so I'm not that bothered about it, so I think I'll head home when I get to Newton Moor. But yeah, it's fantastic. I would thoroughly recommend it to anybody, the East Highland Way. I think it's brilliant.